Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the On Air Advocate. We're at the On Air Advocate. We look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I'm super excited that you are joining us here this afternoon, or if you are catching it on the replay. Now, for most of you that have been following us this whole month, you know that we have been completely focused on autism acceptance and autism awareness. And so with that being said, I am super excited. Now, usually I'm excited, but today I'm even more excited because I have here with me today the new author of Wait, Did You Say Autistic? Aundrea Caldwell. She is an author, a speaker, a coach, and she just got off the Tom Joyner morning show this morning. So good afternoon. I was going to say good morning, but you've been on interviews this morning and this afternoon. So super excited to have you here. Super excited to hear about your journey and how this all started and about your new book.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tammy. This is amazing. So I am ready to share. Like Tammy said today, I had an amazing opportunity to share my story with millions of listeners on the Tom Joyner Morning Show about my autism journey. I'm not your typical autism mom. I was like quiet, raising my two children that are on the spectrum, and I was just doing it. And then all of a sudden, someone brought it to my attention that I was doing it pretty well and that I should write a book about it. And I was like, well, okay, I'll write a book. I didn't realize how passionate I was going to come behind writing this story because I started connecting with other autism moms and hearing their story because I was in isolation all those years. So now I'm like, hey, I'm an autism influencer. Look at that. And I took my education, all of my business experience, and I structured a book around strategies because I love doing marketing strategy. That's what I do professionally. And I said, what are the key strategies that if someone was newly diagnosed, what they needed to know? And it was 4 things. It was acceptance, advocacy, building a connection with your child, and then setting goals. Do those 4 things and you would be able to not only manage autism, but survive it and thrive with it. So that's what I did.
Oh my goodness. Now take us back to that beginning. So I know you have 2 kids on the spectrum.
Yeah, on the spectrum.
You have 3 children, but 2 on the spectrum. What are the ages right now? Where are we at?
Okay. So my son Cameron is 19, so he has Asperger's, or considered to be high-functioning autistic. And then I have my middle child, who's Mari. She's 13, so she's a teenager. She's autistic, and she's a freaking genius. So you can't with her, right? You can't, you gotta be. She's very analytical, so you just can't tell her to do something. She wants to know who, what, when, and why. And then my baby girl, Milan, she is 11, and she just want to be Beyonce. That's all. So my experience as a mom runs the gamut. So I have all types of personalities, and I have to adjust with each child because I have to adjust to their needs.
Now, at what age was your son diagnosed? I know I had it down here, but how old is he?
Okay, well, this is the weird thing about the whole autism diagnosis thing, okay? So think back, I'll say 15 years ago. Cameron was demonstrating behaviors, but I had no idea what it was. Right. So when he was in kindergarten, he was reading on a 2nd grade level. He knew all his math facts. So I go to the parent-teacher conference like, hey, I'm ready to get my stars. And the lady said, oh, by the way, I want you to know that Cameron is demonstrating autistic characteristics. And I go into my, third world, like while she talking, and I say, wait, did you say autistic? I was totally not even I was clueless. So that's what started my journey. And then it took another 4 years before other educators and doctors would believe me. That one teacher took a class on special education in autism and was able to just do a light diagnosis for me to continue to get the official diagnosis. But all the teachers and medical professionals said that he just had a behavioral problem. And it took 4 years. So he was the 4th grade when I went to a school, girl, and this is funny. I enrolled in a new school and didn't say nothing. I
Uh-huh.
just enrolled him, to say nothing about special education at all. Girl, 3 weeks later, they called me up like, look, you need to come to the school. We need to talk about Cameron. I said, don't worry, I'm bringing all the paperwork. I got all the diagnoses. I got all the results. Yes, he's on the spectrum. And finally, I found an educator that believed me. And a month later, girl, he got the diagnosis. And then that's when we started getting his services. So, with the lesson that I learned there was that you have to keep finding the right people to listen to you when you know in your heart that your child is different. You just have to.
Right.
And I gave up. I gave up because it was just too hard. And then I was the only one saying it. My family members like, Aundrea, just let it go. He's just different. Leave it alone. I'm like, no.
Right.
He's on the spectrum. So that's how I got the diagnosis. And for my daughter, I also was so focused on my son that I wasn't paying attention to her. And it was fourth grade when the teacher said, she's demonstrating those behaviors as well. But because she was so freaking smart, can you imagine what they call a savant that know facts and can name things and do well in school?
Right.
I missed it, and then I was like, oh no, that's what it is. So it was a challenge for me. And I felt like that was the reason why I wanted to write my book, because
you knew other moms were in that same position and dads.
Exactly. And my son has deficiencies to this day that could have been, helped if I've gotten his diagnosis sooner. So that's why I did it.
Right. And I think that would be true for so many of us moms that travel that different abilities journey, is that we see those things that we could have done differently. For myself, after that, after 2 decades, so just about, where your son is, after 2 decades long, you realize, hey, I could have done this. I would have known about that resource. If somebody would have shared that with me, I could have done it this way. But really at this point, we did the best that we could do because there's no handbook, but now we're making handbooks for other moms and dads.
That's right, because we're trying to save this next generation of young kids that have any type of disability, that they can thrive and have just have whatever level of success that is destined for them, that they want for their lives. Because, girl, I was worried about, Lord Jesus, is he gonna have any sense of independence? And people were telling me, no, he may have to live with you for the rest of your life. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Are you sure? So it was a lot of that I was believing, that I had to start trusting God. Like, you know what, Lord, I want him to be independent, whatever level of independence there is, because I know I'm about to leave this earth one day. And I need to figure out, what can I do? And so that's why I was like, okay, we got to put a plan in place. Let's get this thing going. So, yeah.
Now, where does he go to school? Because I know he's in college right now, right?
Yes, he goes to a community college. So, when he was in high school, girl, I knew, you have to be realistic about your children, right? I knew he was not going to get an academic scholarship. I knew he wasn't going to get an athletic scholarship, So we had to be really smart about what his college experience was going to be. So I said, you know what, Cam, we're going to do the junior college and community college now, because it's affordable. It's a small pace. It's not a lot of people. And that's what we're doing. And then after 2 years or 3 years, however long it takes for him to get his AA, we're going to transfer to a 4-year university. And this is what I told him. It doesn't matter what, where you start with your college, is where you end. That's what your degree says.
Right.
I told him.
So true.
So we're going to go the easy route, to take your time to slide in this thing and get you some, practical educational type strategies in place, so you can know how to move to college. And when you get to that 4-year university, you got 2 years left, maybe we could try Stanford. Maybe we could try one of those top schools, because you're making those good grades. And if that degree says that, it doesn't matter where you started. And that's what I told him what the plan was. And he said, okay, Mama, let's do it.
Now, at the school he's at, the community college, do they have extra resources, or have you been able to kind of work with their staff to make sure that he has any modifications to his plan in community schooling?
Yeah. Okay, so here's one of those parenting child compromises. Okay. So when Cameron started 11th grade, he elected not to get any special help anymore, because he told me, Mom, if I'm going to go to college, I need to be able to do this on my own. And my thing to him was, if I see your grades going below, like if we go CD level, you're going back to using those resources. So because he doesn't want help, because he wants to figure out how to do it on his own, he studies extra hard. He puts that video game down and do the extra work because he knows at any moment I'm putting those resources back in place. And so that's the agreement that we made with each other. The school is aware that he does have special accommodations. The professor is aware, but he gets to choose when he wants to leverage those special resources. So when he enrolled, I signed a guardianship type form where I could speak on his behalf and ask for accommodations. But as you know, he's 18 and he's transitioning into his manhood. He wants to make certain decisions. So we made the compromise. If you can manage it, then it's fine. But when it starts slipping, because college is all he has, Tammy. Right. He doesn't have the flexibility for nothing else. He needs to get education and have a career to be able to survive. So that's what we did. So I did put it in place, but he made a decision whether or not he wants to use it or not.
Okay. And what about your daughter in school right now? I know she has a different, she's brilliant in so many ways, but obviously needs some type of modifications. Does she has an IEP as well?
Yes. And she is actually, I just recently put her in special education. This is her first year of middle school, of junior high. So she has 7 classes. So transitioning to those 7 classes, resetting her mind to listen to this lecture, and then closing that out and going to the next lecture has her at making D's and F's. Okay. This is she's my smartest child. But the process of managing school is really difficult for her. So I made the conscious decision to move her into a smaller classroom where there are only 3 students. Okay. So she can go one-on-one. Okay. So, and then I'm making the decision in the fall that I'm going to homeschool her because I feel like the traditional educational system for a child like her, it's not a good fit for her. So, and it took time. She will be going into the 8th grade. So I tried all the grades. I tried elementary, but transitioning into middle school, it has been a huge impact on her. And socially, just trying to find her way. And so we need to do like a reset for her, just so that we can build that confidence back up, get her basic skills back in place. So again, autism is different for each child. And you have to be mindful of that.
Right. And I think as a parent, like you said, you have to kind of look at it through your eyes. You know your child best to decide, what avenues for schooling, whether that be homeschooling, whether the educational plan, how strong you want to put in place. If they are able to make some of those decisions that they can, take advantage of it if they want, or not. I always say that in the schooling, I think that we've talked about, privately, my son goes to a school with only children that have disabilities. And so that's a big, on the spectrum of talking to special needs parents, that's a huge decision. It's a huge decision that you have to look at and say, is this right for my child?
And that's, at first I didn't want it because Cameron didn't want it when I was navigating that with him. The first time he went to an autism group session, it traumatized him because they didn't segment by the spectrum. They had all types of autistic kids in the room. So it overwhelmed him like, oh my God, Mom, is that going to happen to me? And I'm like, no. And I had to explain. And he didn't want to be a part of that anymore. But with my daughter, she enjoys it. She enjoys being around a full spectrum of autistic kids because she likes to help. And she also likes people to help her. So it's different for each child. It's different for each child.
They are so unique. So now I want to dive a little bit backwards into before the entrepreneurship that you started. What I love in us meeting and developing our own friendship is you are another mom that is out there that are showing that it doesn't matter if you're a single mom or 2, you got 3 or 4 kids, you can still be a businesswoman, you can still be out there, you can still be a career mom. Just sometimes you have to plan and prepare for what's in your control, and you need to make it work around the life that you have. Not the life you thought you'd have, the life that you really have. And so you used to have, kind of a big professional career before going into entrepreneurship. So tell me a little bit about that transition from Google to
doing this. Well, okay, well, this is going to get a little serious. Okay. So
Okay.
this is where that emotional thing
Mm-hmm.
comes in place. So I like to say that I've been all types of moms. I've been a student mom. I've been a working mom. I've been an entrepreneur mom. I've been a stay-at-home mom. I've been a single mom. I've been a married mom. I've been a divorced mom. I've been a dating mom. Right now, I'm a dating mom. So every type of mom I've been, okay? But the biggest thing that was so impactful to me was my career and the impact that autism had on my career. So when I got the amazing job to work at Google and I moved my kids out to California, I thought I had made it. I was on an engineering team, and I was working with machine learning and pushing out products that I love, but I realized I was being marginalized as a woman, and I spoke up, and it didn't go so well. So I ended up losing my job at Google. And a week later, I was in Las Vegas trying to recover from my wounds. And I was at the Mandalay Bay when that shooting happened. So I witnessed that thing.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah. While I'm having dinner with my friends, they're trying to cheer me up, and then active shooter and stuff get bad. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then a week later, my best friend passed away, Miss Bunny. And in 3 weeks, I lost my job, almost lost my life, and lost my friend. And I was completely lost. And as I was journaling, trying to get back, and Lord, what do I need to do? What's my next move? Because, I'm always plotting my next move.
Right.
Nothing was coming to me. So I started journaling. And before I knew it, girl, I was writing a book about the impact that autism had on me and my career. And then that transitioned into Cameron, and then that transitioned into strategies. And then all of a sudden, girl, I had a book. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And then I said, well, I'm about to be an activist. I'm about to give back. I'm about to serve. I'm about to think about my legacy. Because when my friend passed away, I did her eulogy, and it was about her legacy that she left. And I'm thinking, what the hell is my legacy? All I'm trying to do is work at Google, make some money, and get my stock options. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I was like, what is truly my legacy? And girl, that was 6 months ago. Now look at what's happening.
Right?
I'm on my purpose. This is my purpose, to show other parents, especially moms, that are juggling career and juggling these kids that are special, that you can do it all. It may not be all at the same time, but just, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I was plotting what my career was going to be when I resumed it. Right. I was keeping my skills up to date. I was networking. I was, reading business magazines just so that while wiping butts. So, you know what I mean? So I could stay up because I knew I was resuming my career while watching my friends who went to business school with me resume their careers, get promotions, and get all of that. I was at home, but I said, I'm going to come back. And girl, I did it. I did it. So that's my view of parenting, being a mother, and having a career. You can do it. You can definitely do it, but you got to be planning and strategizing the whole time, and be careful of who is in your ear about what's possible.
Right.
I let the wrong people get in my ear. How are you going to do that? Why are you going to do that? Well, when are you going to do it? I don't know, but it's going to happen.
Right.
That's the mindset I have. And
as I was listening to you this morning, it almost brought tears to my eyes as you were on that show.
Girl,
you're making it happen.
Yes. And this is the thing too, Tammy, like, as I go on this journey of being this influencer, I am not a behavioralist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a neurological scientist. I don't know anything about how the autistic mind works. So my hesitance to put myself out here was because I didn't have that scientific knowledge to explain how you can help your child. But what I do know is how to parent your child, how to support them, how to be their biggest cheerleader, how to build a connection with them. That's the value that I bring because I've done it. Right. And people have said I've done it successfully. So I want them to know because, girl, I remember that day I got that diagnosis, I was completely lost.
Yeah. The best information that I ever have received is from other parents' journeys when my son was little. My first touch of that was at a therapy center when my son was 9 months old, and it was another mom who was a counselor there. Her son was about 3 years old. He was significantly developmentally and cognitively impaired. And she pulled me aside, and I was a hot mess. You know, I didn't know what was going on. He was 9 months old.
I wasn't combing hair. I wasn't getting girl.
I was a hot mess, and all
I was a hot mess.
along with, all my kids.
All over, yeah.
And she just looked right at me, and she's like, "You're gonna do it." She's like, "You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine." And I'm like, "I don't know if I'm gonna be fine." She's like, "You're gonna be fine." And she is my friend and an advocate for me, to this day. And she's one of those first people that I go to say, "What do you think of this? How is this?" But it was from her journey she was on. She didn't expect that her son was going to be born with needs. And obviously myself, after having 2 children that didn't have needs, I didn't think that I was going to have a son that had significant needs, for the rest of his life. And so, it's so true. Your journey and, your grace that, you are showing people to have with themselves is so powerful. It is just absolutely so powerful.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why, I just want to say this as well. That's why community is so important, and why what you're doing is so important. Because I didn't see women like me with autistic kids. I thought I was the only one. And I wish there was a community that I could tap into at that time to say, you could do it. I people told me I could do it that didn't have special needs kids, but I would have loved to have someone that did have a son that was autistic to say to me, "Aundrea, you can do it."
Right.
I had to do that myself. So yeah. So what you're doing is amazing. So I just
and you know what? I think that for parents that have kids that have different abilities, we are all like me and you talked, and immediately we had a connection. It just immediately, because we're all in the same body of water, but we're just on different ships. So your son has autism, my son, you know what I'm saying, has a brain injury. It's all relative when we're in that body of water. We're all searching for the best things, advocating every day, and striving forward. And so, it just makes that instant connection.
Tammy, there's no book.
I know.
When they say a child doesn't come with a book, when you have a child with special needs, girl, it's like a whole nother book that's missing. It don't even exist. At least there's a book. You say what to expect when you expect it, what to expect when you do. Girl, there's no book for what to expect. When your child don't talk, and you're just
now, I have to tell you, my son, he did not, Marcus did not talk until he was about 5.5. And now he talks more than me. So if anyone listens to me talk all the time, they're like, "We didn't even believe somebody could talk more than you."
Yeah, but I'm sure you were like, "Say cat, baby, say cat." You were trying to get something. Girl, it's no book for it. It's just not.
No, there is not. So on that note of the book, your book just released, I believe on your son's birthday, right?
Well, actually, girl, let me tell you about a first-time author. The goal was to release on his birthday, but I uploaded it 2 weeks before, and next thing you know, it was online. I was like, so my book released on April 7th, and then the ebook came out on April 12th. But I did something special on his birthday. I mailed all the pre-order books and had him sign it to all the people that pre-ordered before, and I mailed it on his birthday, so I was able to sign it on his birthday. So it worked out. But it's one of those, when you're doing something for the first time, you don't know the full process. But yeah, it's been about 2 weeks, and it's like the feedback that I've been getting, it's more of, it was an easy read. I heard your voice. I so can relate. Man, I was thinking the same thing. And it wasn't around the stuff about the autistic child. It was all the stuff I talked about was the unexpected impacts that happens to families that no one talks about. That was what resonated with people. And I was hesitant to talk about it. I was like, it's going to be a strict how-to strategy book for your child. But I wanted to add that piece because I was thinking about what I needed to know prior to, because I would have been better prepared if I knew the impact that it had on my professional career and my personal career. So it's been really exciting. I'm excited about it.
Oh my goodness. And so in the book, people can expect that you're going to walk them through not only that journey with your son, but also all of those unexpected things that ended up happening to you, like within your marriage, correct?
Yes. Well, this is how the book is structured. So I tell my story in the beginning. So, because I want you to have a good sense of who I am, because
Mm-hmm.
you need to know what are the challenges I was facing to get to this place of acceptance. So I
Right.
talk about that in the beginning. And then I talk about those 4 things. You need to have acceptance, advocate, build a connection with your child, and then set goals. So that's all the things I did for Cameron to put him on path. Okay. And around the acceptance piece, it was 2 things that were critical. I had to accept my son's I accepted the diagnosis because I was advocating for it, but I also had to accept him and all his quirks, girl. Like I was trying to fix him in the beginning. Once I got the diagnosis, I was like, okay, let me go fix it. Girl, you can't fix it.
Right.
You can teach him coping skills. You can kind of get some growth from it so it won't be so acute. But some stuff, it's just how he's made up. And I had to learn to accept it, girl. So yeah, he wore the same pair of shoes for like 2 years. And you know, it is what it is. He gets dressed in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
When he come out, he fully dressed, teeth brush, everything. I don't understand it. But he only eats certain foods or he won't eat. So he said it feels like poison. I had to accept all of that. And then the other thing that was difficult was building a connection with him. My child does not have anything in common with me. He don't want to talk to me. You know what I mean? He's like, what do you want, Mom? Like, that's how he was, because he was trying to adjust with what it means to be autistic. And so I was like, you know what, dude? We about to be best friends. I'm probably gonna get on your nerves, but we about to go on an adventure of some kind, whether I have to go into your autistic world or we're gonna have to create our own world. But as your mom, I'm not gonna have you stuck in that room for months and months and months, not being social. And that's what the path we were on. We would not even ask him to go places with us because we knew the answer was no. Can you imagine for years doing that?
Mm-hmm.
My baby don't
back to their room. Mm-hmm.
Back to their room, because that's easy. It's no meltdowns, no disruptions. And girl, I just said, you know what, this is not gonna work.
Right.
And I would say a good 50% of the stuff I tried with Cameron was an epic fail. He hated me, but the other 50% was not so good either. But we got something funny to talk about. And so when you see us interact, we're laughing and interacting because we have a history and stories to tell of what worked and didn't work. And that's one of the things I had to change in my mindset about this. So that's what the book is about.
That's awesome. Well, I need it. I didn't get to read it yet.
Some funny moments too. Like I try to put some funny moments in it too, like crazy stuff he did. Like that time he did the break dancing in the McDonald's and the people were rolling their eyes at me. He loved this song by MC Hammer. And girl, he was just getting in it. And then, he was doing the windmill. And this rush hour from McDonald's, like, and I knew he was about to do it. I was like, Kim, don't do it. He said, but that's my song, Mama. And I said, okay. And I had my 2 daughters in the double stroller, girl, and I just let his butt do it. And then he stood up, the song was over, and you should have seen the smile on his face. It was worth it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It disrupted the whole McDonald's.
Right.
But and we laugh about it to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about acceptance, that you have to just accept it. So yeah, girl, that's what the book is about.
Accept your children, not the child you thought they would be, the child that they are. And I think that's for our lives too, so much. I think that we have this vision of what our life is going to be, and then when it doesn't turn out that way, we just have this catastrophic, breakdown about it, this sadness, depression, instead of embracing what God has given us and what God has put into our life and looking at it as if it is a blessing and finding that blessing within the storm and then moving forward.
Yes. In my book, I talk about a grieving process I went through.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 stages of grief, and then the last stage is acceptance. Mm-hmm. I went through the 5 stages of grief because I had this dream of because my son was just this smart kid in kindergarten. And so when you find out that he's autistic, you're just like, what do I do now? Do I change? I had to literally have a new child and a new perspective of this new child. And some people can't come back from that, Tammy.
No.
They get stuck.
They do. And I think that sometimes it's harder when it's like an insult that happens. It just happens in the middle. Like your child is born, they're doing all these things, and then it stops, versus they're born, or when they're going to be born, that there's like an issue. So you kind of, it's like, I've never, for myself, like with Marcus, I've never known it to be any different, except that, I'm saying it's been since day one. It's been since, right there at the hospital. And so by the time you hit kindergarten, first grade, you're like, all right, this is the rodeo. But when it happens in the middle, and when they're already doing things, I think that sometimes it's such a shock, and reorganizing your life to, you were on this path and now you're like, oh, I got to change. Like right now, I think.
And then your extended family is going through the same thing. See, my family, oh, he's autistic. Okay. But they didn't realize what autistic meant. Like, it didn't mean, okay, let's go teach him how to eat correctly. Or let's teach him how to get, brush his teeth. Let's teach him how to wash his face. Cameron has a sensitivity to water on his face, girl. So we had to try a different way of washing his face. He had to wash it. So to this day, girl, by every 4 or 5 days, I have to go and do his face for him. You know what I mean? Like, that is, for a young man and the men in my life, that was hard for them to accept. Right. This young man doesn't know how to manage his hygiene. Right. So I had to re-educate them. And so you have to be so it's not only you have to get back on track. It's everybody in your circle. Right. And
it's family really, and friends, as we know, always try to be supportive in the way they know how. And I always say that you can't be angry at them for what they don't know. You just hope that what you're trying to share with them, that they try to absorb it a little bit, because if they're not walking in your shoes, it is very difficult, But I think that for families in general and, for your supports, really always having a support system that's more that medical support system, or other parents that are going through it, is also needed. You need your family and your friends, but you always need that. People that are on the same page.
I have a support group that is not all my family. Like, it's like I have a therapist when I'm having those overwhelming moments, because as you know, as your child go through different milestones, you have to parent different.
Right.
So as I'm transitioning from, elementary school to middle school and teenager and hormones, I'm just like, who the hell is this? Like, like, is this the Asperger's, or him being an ass to me? What the hell? Like, so, you got to go get some help to coach you through, because either I'm going to pop him or we're going to have like a, nurturing conversation. It's really, you got to have that support team.
Aundrea, that's what I love about you. This is a real on-air advocate converse. This is very, very real. It happens. I know. And being a mom of 3, and I'm a mom of 4, with my last one graduating from high school, he's my test, my last one. He's almost done. So how are you going to adjust? I'm going to ask you a question. Oh. How are you adjusting with this new milestone, this new phase? Well, with my youngest, because Marcus is my 3rd, so Marcus will always live with me. So he'll be with me the rest of his life. We've been looking at some other types of programs that he might be able to integrate into in the next maybe 5 or so years. But it would be very hands-on with that, if anything. But my youngest, it hasn't been as hard, because my 2 oldest were already out of the house. So I lost 2 drivers already, and that was traumatic for me. So, the fact that, when Marcus was small, and both of my older ones are girls. So as girls, they were more nurturing and loving and helped around the house. All of that. So they were a tremendous help when he was little and driving around, being a single mom, making sure that if I couldn't get somewhere, they could get, he could get the other one. And now my youngest has been driving since his 16th birthday and has been working and doing internships the whole time. So he's been gone. So he's been, not really available either for the drive. So I feel like the hardest part was when my 2 older ones, because I was kind of used to it then I had to start doing that, like, oh, I definitely don't have another driver. I don't have another driver for that. I would say, though, relationship wise, it's very hard for Marcus. It's very hard for him to process the fact that now the last kid in the house is going to be gone. And they all have careers and they all go to school and they're all doing these things, and trying to understand why he's not. or in that same way is extremely hard. It's extremely hard for him. So I would say that he's having a hard time, and myself realizing that we're almost phased out of school. So
Yeah.
Marcus is turning 21 and he has one more year, like a partial year left that he can do some schooling where it's more of a very safe environment before you have to do like some work things, out there, volunteer things,
Yes.
but they're all 2 hours here, an hour here. And so for parents in my situation where your child is more full care,
Yep.
to try to figure out how you're going to find safe havens for you to keep your sanity and them to do something that they don't migrate back to that bedroom when they have 8 hours a day. Because think about our school systems for whether you're in a regular, you're integrated into the classroom, or just a special ed school. I mean, they're absorbing a lot of your child's day, like 8 hours of that day to make sure they're not migrating back to that room. But then what happens? So actually out here in my community in Walworth County, we started a What's Next group. Because all of us moms are like, what the heck? Moms and dads are like, all right. So I mean, and that's really every state in the United States. Kids get to that point if they are full care and they really can't directly go to any of the special needs or disability college programs because of where their IQ is or their medical needs. You're kind of in that place where you're like, well, what are we going to do next? Where are they going?
So you're saying there is a gap for kids that are a little more low functioning. As they transition from mainstream stuff, the school system, there is an actual gap.
Yeah, whether it's mainstream school or like my son goes to, it's full. Yeah, it's everyone with disabilities. There's a huge gap across the United States where kids, they turn 21 and then it's like, well, where did they fit and where did they go? Because you have to look at if they have complex medical issues and they have, their intellectual level is at such a level, they can't always integrate into those programs that are out there, even if you're paying $40,000 a year. There's college programs that you can go to that way. And so then you look at, okay, well, where could they maybe get a small, volunteer job or a small job that the DVR is helping them get, that they do 2 hours a day. But those employers are only employing your child for maybe 2 hours, 2 days a week. That's 4 hours a week. What do you do with your kid for the rest of that time? And so that's actually a lot of the campaign for starting the On Air Advocate too, is for other families in that same situation to see what do they have in Texas? What do they have in Florida? What do they have in Wisconsin? Because in your state, as your child ages, you may need to move out of your state to find resources that fit them, and as they age, you also find that if your child has had medical needs and they've been at a top-notch hospital for children, well, then what happens as they age and they need to become an adult? And what if your hospital for adults is ranked like, then you probably are going to want to look, if your child has specific, very intense medical conditions, to move somewhere else that has the ability to take care of them as an adult versus as a child. So I think that across the board, everything that you're doing, I mean, talking to other moms in this month of being embraced with the autistic community, because like we talked about, my son isn't autistic. I have seen, like what I have heard about, that in our African American and Black communities, there is a gap. You know what I'm saying? There is a big gap of that transition and that learning process and all of that. And so I think it takes all of us special needs parents have to be the advocates and the ones to say, this is where I found this gap. This is where it is. And how are we going to fill that void? And waiting and thinking that your state's going to do it, government's going to do it. Your child will be aged out of anything that could have helped them by the time that happens. And so,
well, this is, I don't want to get into policy debate because that's when people get upset. But, for me, I wish that more of the dollars went to like the later years. Okay. Because Cameron needed more support in the later years on life skills. Okay. I was teaching him that, but that stuff is so expensive. Like private care, private services is so expensive. And for parents that are not, well off to do that, I feel like the government should come in some way and offer some type of, so they have all these billions of dollars to go towards research.
Mm-hmm.
What if some of those billions went to support services?
Right. Well, and what I think it is that they don't explain. You need that gap in between for people to be explained how to apply for the services. And that's where I found the breakdown. Like somebody says, okay, we have a program over here. And that's why I started this in the auditory fashion for people to listen, to hear it from the actual source. But how do I apply? Who is accepted? Is there a price point? Does my kid fall onto the level of what you're looking for, my young adult? And so I think what happens is that people are handed brochures. It's all about going beyond the brochure. That brochure doesn't explain.
URL or brochure. That is a booklet.
Right. And you need something further than that to explain to parents, how can you go about getting the services or the aid that you need? I mean, even in my community, I'm a very, very big advocate for the different supports that we have. I have found other parents that have been doing this with me for, 2 decades now, or even greater than that didn't know that this support existed, or that, I didn't know that I could apply for it this way. And it's because people hand you the brochure, they give you things as an overview, but they never truly explain to you how it can work for your family. And so I think that those liaisons, like within, companies and those supports, need to be available there to break that down and explain it. And so, when I look at supports on the On-Air Advocate, I want people to come on and explain, hey, your agency does this. Who does it fit exactly?
Yeah.
You have to qualify with an income. I'm saying, where your income is. Does that not matter? How does the process go? Do I have a yearly review on it? So, am I going to get it and then it's going to be taken away? So I think that a lot of the breakdown comes from that, is that there are things available. But I would say that, in talking to people every single day, that more than half of the people that I talk to don't understand exactly what the service does. And, for a long time, there's a lot of things I don't understand either, but I continue to ask that question, because there is no question that is a dumb question to ask, because if you don't ask, you're not going to know to be able to pass it on to that next person and say, oh my gosh, I just found this out. So, I always encourage parents to continue to just dig and dig and dig. And, there isn't a day that goes by that you're not going to have to advocate, at some level. It's always worked, and it's constant, and it's ongoing. But it's people like yourself and the others that I have on this show that we need to work together within our community and close this gap and look where things are that need to be changed, and because, we're the one in the trenches. We're the ones that are doing it. And
yes. I want to ask you another question, because
people are going to be like, I thought this was your show.
No, because like, that's why I think we sync. Okay. Well, how do you manage your self-care? Because I go hard all the time, but then there are days I'm in the bed and I'm just like, okay, I need a moment. My kids know it. They're just like, okay, Mom, is this your quiet time? I said, yeah, Mom, I need a quiet time. And my quiet time be all day, girl. And I'd be like, fix your sandwich and thinking some Cheetos in there. But as I get older, I'll be 48 this year. And I know that I can't mentally, do what I was doing in the beginning. I got to start taking care of me. So I want to ask you, because you've been doing this thing, you like a girl, you like Superwoman, Wonder Woman, everybody. What do you do for self-care to make sure that Tammy is at her 100%?
I think that's a loaded question. But what I think is that you have to look at your situation and what you can change and what you can't. So, I do speaking engagements, and I talk about, you can talk about, or you can go to speaking engagements where they're like, you need to have self-care. You need to find your Zen. You need to find your balance. You need to sniff your aromatherapy. You need to do all of these things and give yourself that time. But when you have a child that is in need of care 24 hours a day, It is very, very difficult. When you have a child, I think I told you in our conversation, after my son had surgery, we had 149 therapy appointments in 1 year, 149. And so if someone's going to tell me, you can tell me all you want, but it doesn't change my reality of what it is. So I have found ways that I lighten my stress in a way where I actively live my life at the places I go. So if my son's in the hospital, I take like my health bars. I did a whole video on this. I take my health bars with me. I have bands that I do for exercise. I have little weights, and I'll be in the hospital and I'll be working out in the room. I bring my work with me. I ask them at the hospital for my own little separate room if he's an inpatient, that a room that has an adjacent room so that I can do my work and I can still get stuff done. I can be in contact with my other children and I can handle my business so that I'm not sitting there going, oh my gosh, my life is completely out of control. That way. I do love, and now that I know you follow me on my personal Facebook page, it's kind of crazy, but I love hot concrete. So I don't sit in lawn chairs. So I only get a few moments alone usually, but I when I'm stressed, I go outside and I sit right on my driveway. I know that's not very conventional.
That's your hot stone therapy.
That is. And so I just sit there or I lay there and I'm just like, breathe. Take, you know what I'm saying? Take like 5 minutes, or I'll sit out there and I will remove myself because sometimes I can't go. My son can't stay home alone. So I can't leave the house.
Yeah.
So I will just make myself, and right after he had surgery, I couldn't go farther than like the driveway, and I would pace. I would pace from one house to the next house, up and back, and I would leave. You know, mentally, you have to know yourself what are quick, easy stress relievers that are still going to keep your child safe. Because as much as somebody wants to say, you need to go do this, you need to go do that. Well, when you're a single parent, how do the bills get paid? How do the things get done? So I'm very realistic to say,
I get put into that pressure about, oh, Aundrea, you're doing too much. And I try to explain to people, I love staying busy. And it's a mental thing for me because I don't get a chance to think about all the problems. If I'm, especially if I'm helping other people and someone wants me to help them do something, oh yeah, I help you. That's almost like self-care for me, even though it's considered working. It's still self-care because I'm not thinking about, oh my God, I got to make a decision of my daughter going to stay in mainstream school or be homeschooled. And I'm not ready to face that yet. I'm not ready to consider that yet. But if someone says, girl, I want you to help me write your book. Okay. Like that's my view of self-care, because when I'm ready to face it, I'll be ready to make that decision.
Right. And I think that if you put yourself in the mindset, I say this to people a lot, is that you shouldn't always be ingesting what's happening. Okay. So if you're a frequent flyer at the hospital, I see this sometimes on Facebook. People are like, I'm at the hospital again. I'm at the hospital again. All you're doing is regurgitating your negativity like over and over. And all you're doing is being like that. This is my life. This is my life. I have it. And I just am like, I guess I'm a little bit more aggressive about it than some. Like I'm always like, you go full force, you know, you try to live your life by faith and being fearless as much as you can.
Yeah.
You know,
mine is believing and dreaming. That's mine. Mine is, I'm a dream big and I'm gonna believe that it's gonna happen. And I tell it to my kids, they think I'm crazy. And then all of a sudden, girls, something happen, they be like, ooh, Mom.
Right. That you're right. You just need to keep moving forward and making sure like this, you know, when parents are doing this, when parents are coming together, you know, whether that's in a Facebook community group, like, you know, we're going to have with the On-Air Advocate, or like, I know you do your autism group that I think meets once a week, right? Like on Thursdays or something, online, all of those, even though people are thinking, well, I'm learning from this, that's therapeutic for you. It is therapeutic to talk to other moms, other dads, other people that are going through those things with you. But make sure that those people that are also around you, you can have those moments of crying together and laughing together. But at the end of the day, you need to rise up together.
That's why I stopped going to those autism conferences. Because it was like a competition of who life was worse.
Right.
Oh, well, Billy can't do this and Susie can't do that. Girl, I was like, look, I did not come spend $300 to hear about y'all problems. I came here to get inspired and encouraged that to see some people winning and their child winning. And so
Right.
I stopped going because it was like, it's like you get like, I don't know if you felt this way. It's like when you tell people about your child that has a disability, it's like, oh, I'm like, what you talking about? Like,
right.
he fine.
It's just the thing that you just have to, you just do it and you move forward. But I think the biggest thing is to not dwell
No,
on like in that, like we talked about, of what you thought would be. Embrace what you have, embrace the life God has given you, and move forward within that, and find your circle, find your tribe, find your support group that is going to resonate, you know what I'm saying, well with you, and is going to be there to have a shoulder, but is also at that same time going to be there to say, let's go.
Yeah.
We ain't got time, you know. And I'm very fortunate, you know, in that as well. Is my system, my support system continues to grow, but also
I know
you know that I have in my life that you know, don't have kids that have different abilities. Those same people know what I need at that same time, and there are a lot of times they're like, let's go, Tammy, you ain't got no excuse. So you spent 3 months at the hospital.
Come on, girl.
I want them to be like that. I don't know if you follow Eric Thomas at all. He's a motivational speaker. Yes. And so one of my business girlfriends, she's like, I'm going with you. And we went to his conference. I'm all about somebody yelling at me and telling me.
What was your biggest takeaway from being in that kind of environment of that energy, that high energy?
Oh,
like,
it was amazing. But actually, Inky Johnson, he was there as well. And so he spoke to my soul, because, you know, he has an injury. He had a life-changing injury that took away his football career.
Yes. I remember seeing him.
He had me in tears. But it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. Just the energy. But I think that goes back to self-care. You need to know the person that you are inside, especially when you're caring for your kids. So you need to know if the person or the coach or the friend that's going to drive at you is what you need, or if that is, that doesn't resonate with you well. You need something a little bit different. I know for myself, I'm all about the person being like, that ain't good. Why are you doing that? You shouldn't do that. You know, that is how I function, and that suits me best. But knowing that, I think, is very, very powerful. But I just think that embracing your, you know, the community, and like, I love this. All these moms that I've talked to this month, and dads too. David Dollar, he was something. I don't know if you caught his segment.
Which episode was he?
Oh, I think
I'll look for a guy. I look for it.
But he was great, because he lives his life that same way. He has an autistic son, but he is very much where he looks at it in the positive and writes about it every day. And he has trials and tribulations. And, you know, he talks about poop a lot and all different things, but it's all funny stuff. And he, instead of crying about it, he laughs about it. And I think that is what it's all about, is that, you know, we need to just, like I said, realize that we're blessed by the things that we have, and it might be a storm, it might be a hurricane some days, it might even be a typhoon, but your need to still move within your face fearlessly and keep moving forward. So on the wrap up,
girl, oh my gosh,
people are like, it's 2:00, and I gotta probably go get my child soon.
Oh, Tammy, we can.
Yes.
So we said 30 minutes, girl.
I know. So I want to wrap this up with the folks.
Yes.
Thank you guys for hanging with us for this full hour. I want you to know, so where can they find all the information?
Yes.
For you, Aundrea? I know that we're going to drop the book link. We're going to drop that below, but I know you have some other subsidiary companies and things like that. So can you just let us know where people can find you?
Absolutely. So first of all, you could go to my website, which is AundreaCaldwell.com. So it's Aundrea with a U. And a lot of my information is there. One of the things that I am focused on is maintaining this entrepreneurial spirit and creating an opportunity where I can be self-sufficient and have a independent life with my kids. So I'm launching a business called the Autism Strategies, and you can go to autismstrategies.com. You can also go to the Facebook group, and it launches May 1st. And I'm going to be doing services around coaching, consulting with educators, as well as a concierge. And I know this is weird, but this is a way. I'm really good at finding information. So if you're a parent that needs just research some stuff, you can hire me and my team, and we'll research and put it together, and you execute. And because I remember that was the most time-consuming stuff for me, is researching who to call for this and who to get for that. But if you wanted someone to do that research for you, we're going to do this concierge. And I felt like that was key to this business strategy, to really take the time away. So it's going to be Autism Strategies. I'll be launching that. And then I have 2 Facebook groups that are really, really cool. One is Wait, Did You Say Autistic? And that's when I put little nuggets about the book in there, little things that I go in deeper detail about. So you could join that group. And then I also have a VIP group. So if you end up buying my book, then you get to see all the other stuff I do, like the courses. You get to see them first. You get to get a discount because you are an invested partner with me. You have now said, I want to invest in Aundrea. So those are the 3 things that I do. And I'll definitely make sure that Tammy posts everything. And if you just need someone to talk to, send me a quick message and say, girl, it's bad today. And I'll probably say, girl, it's bad today for me too. What you got going on? I am here to serve. God put me in this position for a reason, to serve, and he's going to provide all the other stuff, all the other opportunities. So thank you guys for listening and hearing my story. Definitely reach out if you have any questions. And Tammy, let me tell you, before we end, you are a complete blessing.
Oh,
and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're a complete blessing. And I wish nothing but the best for you and your family. I look forward to seeing all the great things you end up doing, girl, because it has been really a blessing just getting to know you. So that's what I wanted to say.
Myself as well. We're going to be hanging out when you go to Atlanta. We got to figure that out.
I got to come to Wisconsin when it's not cold.
Yeah, when it's not cold. So we will drop all the links below.
Yes.
Aundrea will also check back. So if you do have questions about the book or questions
for
her and her community, because obviously she's also traveled all over, going from California to Florida to
now. I travel internationally too, girl. I love Europe, so girl, you'll be finding me
and everywhere to find all different types of resources. Just drop your questions below. She'll be back on the Facebook page to answer those as well. So we'll get you guys all that information. So on that, if you guys want to check out any of other social media applications for the On Air Advocate, just go to onairadvocate.com. Also, please know that in June, our On Air Advocate community launches, and that is for everybody, pharmacists, doctors, books, authors, everybody that is going through the good stuff, the bad stuff, and the indifferent stuff, for us to throw out questions and really be a community to be able to chat every single day. So make sure that you go and request to be a part of that. So on that note, I hope you all have a blessed day. Thanks for hanging with us. It was a great time. You guys have a fabulous and fearless Friday. Bye-bye. God bless.
Bye.